Welcome back. Our final presenter today is Benno, PA3FBX. Benno is one of the most enthusiastic DATV operators on QO100 and is also heavily involved in keeping the DATV repeater PI6MEP on the air. As one of the beta testers for DATV Easy, he's offered to now demonstrate and explain the software which enables most modern PCs to generate signals for transmission to QO100 with just the addition of an SDR. And remember, if you've got any questions or comments for Benno, just pop them onto BATC or Zoom message and I'll read as many as we can to him after the presentation. But now, welcome to CAT22, Benno.
Good evening, good afternoon, guys.
Good to see you.
I need to mute myself.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, thank you for that, David. Marvelous presentation from Barry. Thanks for him and handling our goals or our frequency. He's trying to keep at least a little bit for us. Thanks for that. Good afternoon. My name Benno, PA3FBX, and I want to tell you something about DATV Easy. I prepared a small presentation, takes a few slides, and I think it covers most of the information. Let's see, where are we? In the old days, we had analog TV. Because more and more programs needed airtime, more channels needed to be squeezed in the frequency band. DATV was implemented. A big improvement in quality, a better range with low power was the result. The only big problem was the fact that digital encoders were very expensive. Then QO100 came and the need for affordable DVB solutions was really born. All over the world, groups of hams made projects to improve the usability of DVB systems. And from France, we got, the advanced technology didn't slow down, but really got onto speed with Everest DVB firmware for the Pluto. So how did that work? A lot of people already know the Pluto. His contribution to the modification of the Pluto firmware to accommodate digital video made digital video broadcasting transmission much more active, and lots of hams starting on the narrowband, moved on to the wideband with this help. F5OEO is by now a famous call sign, and lots of hams adopted his work. It simply takes the output of a streaming program and puts it on the air. H.264 was the normal encoder, and you needed, again, expensive hardware externally or internally to get H.265. Which had better compression to get more video results in low bandwidth settings. Several specialists started to use FFmpeg scripting, and F1 Echo Juliet Papa managed this into a user-friendly software tool to get H.265 out of a software codec. So Pluto, the F5OEO browser, some streaming program, and an extra tool in between to get the H.265. It got really crowded on your PC screen. So you would need OBS or vMix or any other streaming program. You need some kind of FFmpeg encoder. You need, obviously, the browser to control the frequency and power settings. You also would like to have some kind of chat box and frequency monitor. If the frequency is free, then you need some receiver to receive yourself or another station, which was also on the air. My screens were completely blocked, and obviously this could be solved by more PCs. So you have 1, 2, 3, or even 4 screens. But more screens is more difficult to manage, as you might know. Another problem was the fact that the line was only supported by ports down at that time. So Dominic started to work on a coder like FreeStream, but to control the line. That was the born of DATV Easy. After many requests, some Pluto support was also added, and the main advantage of that was DVB-T, which was suddenly possible to transmit without the use of ports down. The layout was simple. On the left, some mode settings, in the middle, some video settings, on the right, some audio settings. In the middle of some audio settings, and on the right, the frequency, power settings, and obviously the start and the stop. It took the better part of the summer to get a decent release, which is now available. Some days we beta testers got 2 or 3 updates. But now we get inputs from OBS 27, but also from 28. We get user-friendly settings for modes up to 2 megacycles and DVB-T. We get all kind of outputs for the Lime, for the Pluto for analog devices, firmware, and for F5 OEO firmware. And somewhere along the line, we also got some monitoring control, which is handy for those guys using the remote stations. So if you would know FreeStream encoder, you quickly feel home in the settings, which are like which kind of hardware, which kind of network address, which kind of video stream program, hard or software encoder, audio settings. You just enter the call sign and your program information. Don't change anything else unless you know what you're doing. Finally, change the frequency and power settings and just press start. DATV Easy will overrule all the Pluto settings and start the transmission. Select it on frequency, sample rate, frame quality, audio settings. So if you want to remotely monitor your amplifier status over the network, DATV Easy supplies an Eno for an Arduino Uno. Be aware, use the Uno with the corresponding shield because Eno will only support this chipset. Or in my case, I used a Raspberry, just an older Raspberry, 3 in this case, and I put Node-RED on it. And I get a decent screen on my computer, but I don't want extra screens. So DATV Easy incorporates the last part, the settings for the temperature control and also the digital output with several delayed switching stages for each amplifier stage or bias control. So for those guys who like flow diagrams, this is an overview of DATV Easy. On the left side, you have some kind of audio or video capable mixing into some kind of broadcast picture. On the right side, you have a Lime, a Pluto, some Arduino or USB control. DATV Easy is combining FFmpeg scripting, GNU radio monitoring calculation, and user interface to set up and transmit a stable output onto the air. So a lot of questions already I got from lately. So why would I need DATV Easy? If you're happy with your current setup, using ports down, if you're using a hardware encoder due to a low-end PC, If you're completely happy with your current setup, or if you're a MFFmpeg guru making much better quality streams in a certain transmission, I would guess you don't need it. But for all other hams like me who are changing their frequency and quality settings and want an easy transmission with a good quality, don't want to bother about null packets or audio dropouts, and would like to have a setup for a remote controlling and monitoring for your own amplifier, I would guess take a look at DATV Easy. It really makes DATV easy. So I finished already with some questions I recently got, and it might already answer a lot of basic questions. If your PC is a bit older, just give it a try. If you want to know, just test it. Under F5OEO firmware, it makes the use of UDP, which is much more light on the CPU, much like the free stream encoder. If you're using DVB-T or for the line, you need a stronger PC. It runs on 10 and 11. On all the previous versions, you just have to try. Can I use my Intel or NVIDIA card? Yes, it uses several hardware encoders if available. If not, you can use the software encoder. Will OBS 28 work? Yes, since this week, we have support for DroidCam, Virtual Cam, and Virtual Audio Cable. Will it run on my Pluto firmware? DATV will run on the original AD firmware, but you need a stronger PC as it uses RTMP. It will run also on both the current latest, I would say, F5OEO versions with UDP. What mode does it support? Obviously, it supports all the current DVB modes like DVB-S, DVB-S2, DVB-T, anything in 20K up to 2 meg, and in H.264 up to H.65 in 15, 25, and even 30 frames per second. Audio, all the current in even 44 or 48 sampling. Will it run on my networked Pluto? Yes, it will run on USB and also on network connected Pluto, and obviously on the USB connected line. So where can I find it? Well, that's the next question. It's downloadable on the Viva DATV forum from Everest. Where can I find the instructions? It's downloadable. Yeah, you find it in French and English on that site. Please read them and follow them before reporting the problems. It really improves the quality if you are following that instruction to the letter, as you also have to modify a little bit on the virtual cam if you use it on the OBS. Where do I find the help? Well, both Dominic and myself and several other beta testers will monitor the BATC and AMSAT DL fora frequently. So find us there and put the questions in there. So I have a little bit time and I switch a little bit to how it looks. Let's see if I can quickly do that. So this is my DATV instance, which I'm currently running. Like I said, currently running on 2.08. On the first screen, like expected. The transport, you just choose the mode if you want. Mind you, DVB is not in here. I will show you that later. The symbol rates, the FAC, the roll-off, then modify the bit rate. Choosing this automatically chooses a bit rate for the image and the audio. If you want to modify that, it's not a big problem. You just unclick, but I know if you go too high, you might freeze up your FFmpeg. So it's always wise to use the automatic image. On the next tab, you see I've selected F5 OEOs 0201, which is currently in my setup. But I also can use the Pluto, which is the analog devices, and even 0201 works, no problem. You can still use it. You see my, it's my Pluto is networked. You choose the OBS, or you want to vMix, or any other IP address. So I need to put that one back. And you choose the encoder like Intel, AMD, or Soft. And I am lucky with an NVIDIA encoder. Then for the lip sync problems, we know lip sync is a big issue lately due to all kind of FFmpeg limitations. And now you have the simple solution, and you can change the lip sync here. For my system, it's -300. You can go up to -2 seconds or +2 seconds, if you whatever you want. Your sample rate for your audio is also here, as well as the frame rate if you want to go on 30. So on the DVB, you have your call sign and your name or your program information. This information below here, leave it automatically, but if you are changing it, it will only active if you're not using F5 OEO, as F5 OEO is changing this in the UDP stream. So on the RTMP stream, you be able to go to a different PID settings. But then again, you need a decent PC with the Pluto selected. And in this mode, you can also find the DVB-T. So this about the normal settings, and I quickly move that one back before I forget it. And then finally, you have the PTT monitoring. It will select the Arduino you find in the ini file in your system, and it will read out the information from your amplifier. There are 4 stages of switching. So if I just put them below each other, it switches at the same switching point. If you put them like me here, you have first this one and delayed this one and delayed this one. And I told you 4 because you have actually a real PTT. So I just start up. I hear my relays switching. My power amplifier is now under power, and I can switch on the PTT, switch off the PTT the way I want. Adjust the power setting. One thing I haven't spoken about yet and I've shown you already in my display. I stop this. I'm transmitting on this frequency. You need to start using a different way of looking at frequencies. For instance, if I'm going to use the local repeater, I can choose it this way. And if I want to go on the Q100, I just select this frequency and I have this frequency selected. So this is the new way of the DATV Easy selecting the frequency. For me, in first, I was getting start using clicking on the browser, but after a quick while, this started to use. So I'm easy to be able to transmit, and I won't do that obviously because Mike is occupying that frequency. So let me show you a little bit about the Arduinos if you don't know them. Let's quickly go to my desk cam. Okay, I have some Arduinos here. This is the Arduino Uno, and you need this big shield. I also have this one with a nano, but I cannot get it to work as this one uses different chipset where something in the Uno is still not getting to work with this chipset. Or you use something like a Raspberry 3 or a Zero or any old Raspberry with no Node-RED. It doesn't really take a lot of information. Actually, my Raspberry is being used for Node-RED, but also for the long mind for DATV reception, and also for port forwarding, getting my Pluto onto my network. So it's used 3 ways, which is just still a Raspberry 3, and I don't have any hardware issues. It's running at a very low profile. Okay, well, that concludes what I wanted to talk about.
Okay, thank you very much, Benno. Covered quite a lot there, and this is a great opportunity for you if you'd like to ask any questions to Benno about his software or anything else at all. He'll try and cover it, I'm sure. Just put them onto BATC or the Zoom text messaging and we'll read them to him. Someone who's done just that is Michael EA7KR and said, is the source code available, because I'd love to see it running on a Mac?
I have to ask Dominic what his presentation, his way is. I'm not sure if Dominic is releasing his source code. He's putting a lot of work in it already. I'm not sure his current state. He is asking for more implementations, and this might just be an idea additional to get it to work on a Mac, as I know he's using it from.
Yeah, on a similar, actually almost the same question really, from Justin G8YTZ. He just asks if it's going to be available on a Mac M1 portable, which is using the Apple Silicon, isn't it? So I guess it's the same sort of question really. Hopefully you and your colleague can think about that. Nick G1BVI says, can you use it with a ports down 4/Lime USB? Did not notice it in the drop down menu. And what does PTT control? Thanks.
Well, start with the last part, PTT is actually the 4th relay. It just starts. It's capable in switching 4 different stages, different relays actually, to control your amplifier, your power to the amplifier, your pre-stages, in what kind of order you want to start them. On the other part, I wouldn't see why not, because I know FreeStream was capable in doing the same with UDP to the port zone. I have used that on port zone 4. So I guess I would have a go on that, but I think I'm not sure what it does with the H.265. I know at that time I needed to go back to H.264 to get through the port zone, as it works with H.264.
Okay, thank you, Benno. Somebody, Majaz, I think, I'm sorry, I hope you got your name right, S59MZ, asked, where can DATV easily be downloaded from, please?
So that was on the slides. I just quickly move back. It's on the French site where everything from Everest was found in first, and also the mini tuners software is found, which is the Viva DATV site. Let's see if I just went too far back. Okay, let's move back to the to that image.
I think Fred Marinus has just put a link on Zoom, but obviously if you're watching this on BATC, you may not see it. But there we are. That's on the screen now for you. Thank you, Benno. vivadatv.org, and then that link there. I guess there'll be a link and an index from the front page.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Someone else, John, has said, I'd love to see DATV easy on Linux. So there we are. That's the 3 platforms. Requests for Mac and Linux for you. Dave at work. That's all I've got in terms of your name or call sign, Dave. I'm getting about 3 dB less power from my Pluto using easy DATV than using FreeStream Coder. Is this something that is usually seen?
Well, actually, myself, I found it. I got more. So that's, I think, back to what kind of firmware did he use? Because if he is using the 0303, we all know that one reduced 3 dB. So I would guess stay below 0201, which was the last non-persevere version of F5OEO. And I think I would investigate in that.
Okay, thank you. Actually, someone else asked, Justin G8YTZ asked, is the latest version 2.08? Do you know?
Yes, it came out last Monday morning. And so, yes, at this current moment, I know there are already some issues, and as these things progress, 09 will come within a week or two, I believe.
Good. Associated with the same low power question, Clive G3GJA says, I've tried the program on 2 different systems. Both have produced much lower power output, though, compared to with a ports down. I've seen this reported on the BATC forum too. So your message was to check the firmware version.
Yeah, I think it's probably somewhere around 0303. But again, I found that the latest DATV versions did produce the same or even a little bit better power.
Okay, thank you. Phil M0PIT says, I've rewritten your script and created a bash script. I can now send RTMP stream from OBS into FMPEG without the virtual cam using H.264 and H.265.
Sorry, who was that?
That was from Phil M0PIT, Papa India Tango.
Mm-hmm.
So he says that he's rewritten your script and created a bash script from that, and so that he can stream from OBS.
Okay, it's not my script, by the way.
Okay.
It's I just present the information from Dominic.
Well, I think what we've learned today, Benno, is that everybody's work seems to be collaborative, and there's probably very few single pieces of work from any one person. I think we've covered most of the questions and things there. I want to thank you very much for giving us this presentation this afternoon and for all your work and collaborative work with your colleagues on that software. And thank you very much for joining us on CAT22.
Yeah, thank you for having me, David, and everyone have a nice weekend.
Thank you. There we are. Thank you very much again to Benno, PA3 FBX. Now we've got a short video before we conclude CAT22. Just a quick look at some of the things that we do in our club. Well, I hope you've enjoyed joining us for the British Amateur Television Club CAT22 Conference Part 2. We hope you really have had fun today. Although this has been a live event, all of the presentations have been recorded and will be put up onto the BATC YouTube channel very soon. Now, if this is one of your first experiences of the BATC, then maybe you'd like to consider joining us, because membership starts at just £8 a year. You can find full details about the club at batc.org.uk. But now it's over to the BATC chairman, Martin G4FKK, to close this year's convention.
Yeah, thank you, David, and to everyone who's contributed. Fascinating part 2 of CAT22. I think everyone will agree there was lots to be learnt there, and some interesting things perhaps to worry about as well. I'm particularly worried in the fact Tom and the wise men of programming keep saying, oh, it's easy to do this, easy to do that. So I've decided when I finally retire, which is in the next few weeks, Node-RED is going to be one of the things I have a go at learning. But so Tom, ZR6TG, amazing stuff. And as Noel intimated, possibly we could have a discussion about the BATC bursary scheme to get your Apple stuff or get your stuff ported to Apple, as it were. So that'll be an exciting thing as well, and just amazes me what you can do really quite quickly. There's a number of members of the BATC who Rob's another one, M0TTS, who says, I've not done much this week. Oh, I've just written this little program which does amazing things, and we can all learn from that. Dave, GKQ, thanks for the ports down. And I have to say, the ports down, especially if you've got Lankstone installed as well with all the test gear, it's just an essential part of shack equipment these days, let alone just for DATV. And thank you ever so much for your ongoing support of the stuff you've already done and the continuing development. That's all very exciting. And Barry, G4SJH, well, all I can say is good luck with the up and coming meetings, and we've all got our fingers crossed that we can maintain as much of 23 SEMS as possible. My theory is they shouldn't have stuck flipping sat-nav there in the first place, but what would I know? And Benno, thank you for a very clear description of how to drive DATV easy and the history of it. And having spent a number of hours in the past trying to get FFmpeg scripts going, and it is possible eventually. It's like FFmpeg in a nicely packaged GUI. And of course, we've got to thank all the other developers of software that haven't been on the meeting today, but Evereast in particular, F5 UII, and loads of others too. So just as a final thing, I'd like to thank all the speakers. I'd like to thank you, Mike, G0MJW, for sparing your electricery to, I imagine we'll expect an invoice at some point to relay that on Oscar 100. I know Dave's been relaying it on the BATC streamer. And of course, finally to David and Tammy. Tammy, I don't know if you notice I've got the screen share going on, but here's a picture that David took earlier of the number of computers it took to make this presentation work. And I think everyone will agree, and I certainly maintain that was a thoroughly professional broadcast. And the sort of homemade TV gallery there, it looks very impressive. Okay, so thanks all for joining today. I believe we've had 200 people watching via, or over 200 people watching via Zoom and the BAT streamer. As David says, it'll all be out on YouTube soon. And I'd encourage anyone who's not a member already of the BATC, it doesn't matter whether you're in the B, as in Britain, or not, you can join anyway, and there's all sorts of huge benefits. Thank you very much. Goodbye, and we'll see you either on the nets on Thursday or on the next CAT23. Cheerio.